Morning.
Sorry, I had somebody walk in to my office. Explain.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Your first,
How are you, Dirk?
first time joining the group. I'm well, thank you.
Yes. Thank you for the invite.
No problem. Yeah, there are a lot of people joining today.
Yeah, it's because you threatened us.
I normally only do that to my kids. How did I? Oh, I threatened you, yeah. How's everyone doing?
Very well. How are you, Dirk?
All good, thanks.
I'm always good. I live in St. Francis. Mary, okay. What's Becky saying? Oh. How's Cape Town today, Haley?
Yeah, it's good, thanks. It's a little chilly, but it's been nice after the heat of the weekend, so all good.
Okay, yeah. You either have terrible weather or boiling hot weather.
Yeah, but I mean, we always find a reason to complain about the weather, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's nice that sort of summer and spring has arrived.
Yeah, we can feel it here as well. There's just a different, the air is not as cold as it's been. Can't believe you guys had snow a few weeks ago. Ferdy, where are you at the moment?
I'm still in Bloem.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the weather like in Bloem?
Yeah, so we had a bit of winter the past few weeks again, after we had a bit of summer. So it was quite a short summer. But yeah,
Okay.
now it's getting better again.
Okay, great.
Morning, everyone.
Morning, who's that?
It's Zizwe.
Hi, Zizwe. Is this your first time joining us, Zizwe?
No. It's
Sorry, man.
second time.
Okay, great. And whereabouts are you, Zizwe? Of course, I remember you now, yeah.
I'm in East London.
Okay. Okay. Yondela, yeah, yet.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Morning.
How are you, Yondela? You good?
Good, man. How are you?
Also good. Morning, Marguerite.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay, guys, I think let's get started. So, I mean, can't believe it's already October. This year's already gone by really quickly. I'm not sure if it's just because I'm getting older or if it's the same for everyone. We've just had kind of like conference season with conferences all over the place. I just thought the reason I put out that little survey is just to kind of get a feel for, you know, where people are. Because a big part of this group is obviously is creating a safe place where, you know, people can reach out to other people in the group and, you know, ask for help or bounce ideas off, because we know that this profession industry is pretty tough. It's actually very tough and can be really lonely at times as well. So again, just encouraging everyone just to feel comfortable to reach out to each other, and for if someone reaches out to you, just believe me, even if you don't think you know a lot, you do, and you can always help somebody else. Okay. So, yeah, so what I thought I'd do is just get a feel for where everyone is. Obviously we would think that people starting off are in the most vulnerable situation where they're finding things really hard, which is often the case. But I think also there's so much ongoing change within the industry at the moment, within the profession, that a lot of us will find ourselves having to change tack or change the way that we work, making career decisions, things like that. So it can get difficult. One thing I've learned is that in over 30 years, things never stay the same. It keeps on changing. And just when you think you're getting settled, then something happens, or you get an idea that threatens to upset the whole way of thinking. And I think that's a good thing. But the reality is it does sometimes leave us a little bit vulnerable. So I thought it would just be a good idea today just to chat about that situation. I try to see if I could do the poll anonymously, but I don't think you can, or my IT skills don't allow me to. So thank you everyone who did reply, and especially those who have showed a bit of vulnerability. Should we maybe just start off with, and I'm not going to pick on anyone, I'm going to let people volunteer, but anyone who replied that they're loving the work and that they're on the right track. Surprisingly, there's 11 people who feel that way, which is really great in many ways. Number one, that you're there in the first place, and number two, that you're there and that you're still on a group like this, which shows that you, even though things are going well, you're still wanting to learn. So yeah, is there anyone who replied that they've got things under control and things are going away, that want to just share a little bit about how they're feeling, and perhaps if there's anything that kind of got you to this point, because I know most of us would have been in a place at some time where we could have answered any one of the other two replies. Anyone who wants to volunteer?
Can I jump in?
Go for it.
Okay, great. Sorry, I'm running a bit high from the dopamine hit this morning from my workout, so I thought let me just get it out of my system while I still have the energy. Yeah, I would say honestly, thanks for also asking that poll, because I think it's very important. And one thing I've also realized, so I'm in a really good space now, me and Monique, especially with like rebuilding firm. We rebuilt our whole advice process, and I'm basically just short of 10 years being in the industry now. And we feel so much more reassured or better now, and we're making deeper connections with our clients. And I think just for those of you that maybe are, I think, selected the middle option where they are still a bit lost or unsure, my first 6 to 7 years, I was still lost in this profession, I'll be honest. I was just kind of like getting by. Dirk will know because he's been with me since the beginning. But I've been like reaching out to like Dirk, Corbus, and a lot of like other senior planners for guidance along the way. So it took me time to kind of get to this point. And one thing I will say is that whatever you're going through, whether it's good or bad, use it as experience of like, how can I fine tune my process, or what could I've done better? So that's also what I've been doing for the last couple of years. Like, I would say I haven't been fully as satisfied as I am now for the last, I would say, 6 to 7 years. And there's obviously room for improvement, but I've just been fine tuning every year. So one thing I used to always ask myself is like, whether it's good or bad, like what can I take away from this or learn from this to better my practice, but also have deep, meaningful conversations with clients. I mean, last 2 years, especially this last year, I've been going so deep with clients around like financial trauma, their relationships with money. And I think when you start out, you have an idea or framework of what holistic or lifestyle financial planning is, and that's kind of just the service level. So you grow with your clients as you start digging deeper and deeper below that. So yeah, I would say just to those who may be struggling, like it takes time. Like part of the experience is not only just growing your practice or your business, but you also develop along with your practice as well. And I think just having a tribe like what we have within this group is so valuable. I'll probably be if Dirk would have me for the next like 20 years. To I retire, to I retire. Because I still find it valuable to this day, even versus when I just started out in the profession. Yeah.
Thanks, Russell. And Russ, is there anything? Because I mean, I know you've been to so for those who don't know, you started off as an agent. Sounds funny in South Africa, but you started off as a bloody agent, and then you've got to where you are now. I mean, is there anything specifically that stands out for you that that helped you, break through times when it was really hard?
Sure. I would say, I mean, not to sound cliche, but probably one of the things is like why you were in the industry. I mean, I don't know if I shared it with most of you, but 2017, 2018, especially when I had that whole thing with like my family as well, before that happened, I was considering like going to investment banking purely for the money and status, basically. Like a lot of my peers that study finance and then went that route. But then you have to reassess, like it came down to my why, and what kept me was like, I can't leave my clients stranded. So you have to be, I know we've spoken about it, but you have to be in it for more than just like, I want to make money. There has to be a deeper why. I would say it's going to be a really tough. And I would say in times of like when there's a lot of challenges, and I will be honest, I'm not just being the optimistic person in the group. There's a lot of challenges, and it's hella hard, this profession, right? You don't just walk into the profession and then there's no guarantee after 5 years that you're going to have a booming practice, like Dirk's, for instance. So you have to really give a lot. So I would say there's been a lot of hard times, but the one thing that I've learned that helps me a lot, and Dirk just started this group, but there's also other groups you can join. It's like having like this kind of safe space or a group of people to talk to so that you're not alone. I think why I reached out to Dirk back then in my first 1 to 3 years, it was very lonely. I felt like everyone's having a good life and I'm struggling here by myself. And I think that's what we actually need more of. No one talks about that when you study in financial planning university, like, oh, you should find people that you can talk to and don't see them as competitors, but as a safe space. So like if you're struggling, that can give you some reassurance or hope of like, even if it's someone that's a little bit more further along in the profession, of like, okay, if they've stuck it out for 8 to 10 years, that means there's hope there for me as well, if they can do that. And especially if they've had the same challenges or troubles that I've had. You'll be surprised, but probably most of us have the same issues or challenges that we all have, like when it comes to like clients, scaling the practice, overworking, and also especially for me, trying to update and improve like our advice philosophy process and having a model. I mean, probably the one big thing that we've done with our process is like, I'll be honest, I didn't really have a solid process till the last couple 6 to 8 months where we reported. It was just kind of a fly by night of see clients, sign them up, and then kind of have kind of a more loosely type of relationship. So I would say reach out to like anyone that's within this group or tribe so that you're not alone. And that's really been a big role for me of like why I've also kind of stayed in this profession for so long, in addition to my why. And then I would say just push through, and then also try and learn from every experience basically. And one thing I also would say that I had to humble myself in the beginning was like, when you start doing well in the beginning, it's easy to get prideful or arrogant. So what I learned early on is like you will never know everything, and it's better to rather be like humble and question and ask everyone's perspective or insight. I talked to a lot as well to like Terrence, Brian, and Mal a lot, and they were ahead of me. But the nice thing that they've also shared that I've learned through the years is like gather insights and feedback and people's opinions about what you're going through, any challenges you have, and then take what you find useful applies to you, and don't take anything personal or criticism. So it's not like take everything, but take what's useful, and then if it's not useful to your practice or doesn't apply to you, you can just discard it. So I would say don't be afraid to take opinions or feedback, and just use what is useful for you or you think works within your model and your advice philosophy.
Thanks, Russell. I actually listened to a podcast on Sunday, and it was what's his name, the American, and he was interviewing Michael Kitces. It's quite long actually, and in the, the end they get talking about the whole, like the psychology of money stuff and the coaching part and all of that. And what Kitzer says is quite right, I think, where he says that we today tend to put a lot of emphasis on like that side. So anyone new coming in, you look at the best, who you deem to be the best people out there, and they're doing this thing at a completely level which is on steroids and everything, and you think that's what you've got to be like. And the reality is that you actually don't. You know, I think, and what he's saying is we put far more emphasis on that than our actual clients, than the public. I mean, you know, where they've done surveys, you know, where it's come to the psychological stuff, clients put that right at the bottom of what they deem as being important. So although we know, like, that is how we can help people, it's not really what client wants. And he's saying, first of all, just do what they want. So like, just do the stuff, like do financial planning, where a lot of it is just kind of around the numbers and solving those problems and all of that. So I think a lot of us make that mistake of trying to, you know, run before we can walk. And as you go through your career, you will get better and you will change and you will develop. And this is kind of like my whole, why I have negative sentiment towards these people who don't do what we do, who are telling us all how to do it and why we should do it. But, you know, the reality is, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, and we will all grow at different pace according to our different skills as well. Anyone else want to share?
Yeah, just put in your card, please. My car's full of pictures.
Diane, I'm going to pick on you.
Hi, Dirk.
Hi, Diane.
Okay. I had the terrible twos like children. At the beginning of the year, I was like, oh no, I don't think this is for me anymore. So let's see what we can do. And in the same time, I had that feeling. Our bosses came to us and said, listen, this is what's happening with Momentum. I think all of you know the franchises are being sold out. So we had an option, stay with Momentum or go to the independent space. And then all of a sudden, everything opened again. I think it's a mindset game, this as well. You have to look not into today, but a day further as well and into the future. So I was sitting down and I wrote down everything. So for me, clarity comes when I write down stuff, because then I get to realize, okay, this is my options. I weigh it up and see, okay, good and bad. And will it suit me? Will it be a good thing? And for me also to, how can I say, be able to be in a good position to help my clients as well, because you have to have the right mindset as well. You can't just do this for money and say, oh, this is a policy, this is this, and you're trying to sell something, like you said. Every client is different. So I had a lot of EQ knowledge learning now the past since April, because then we decided to go to the independent space. So I had a chat with my boss as well, and I said, listen, I really want to go out of the industry. And he challenged me and he said, okay, set yourself goals and see if you want to achieve them. And at the end, will it be beneficial for yourself? Is it something you would love to do, your passion? Or rather than tell yourself, leave it and go and try something new or else. So going into the independent space, it's a lot of work. So my time management sucks. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out that and how to do it with the admin now, with the PSTs that we're doing with all of the other companies. But when you sit in front of a client, it's basically like that all falls away. You don't think about the time anymore and, oh, I need to do this. I still need to study this. It makes your planning holistically totally different, your game plan to them. And it's just having the conversation with them. Like you say, you listen to what they want, but you just ask them questions that they think about, saying, oh, wait a minute, I never thought about that. So I think, like you say, everybody's on their own journey and the different times in their lives. But yeah, I'm definitely at a place where now with the independent space that clients are telling me, listen, you've helped me in the past 2 years. Please look at my Sanlam policies now as well for me, because your advice that you give me is so much more beneficial than I also got clients that's got advisors for 10 years, which they haven't seen anymore, or even 5 years. That said, they don't have that interactions with their clients anymore. So yeah, I would say that is my story.
Great, Diana, and if I could ask, when the disruption happened at Momentum, I mean, what was your biggest fear? What was the thing that that pushed you to the point where you were considering leaving the industry?
Well, the income as well, that because now we're going to the independent space where we didn't have strips before. Now we're going to have strips. So I said, yes, see, again, the time thing. You were able to do or service, say, 5 clients or a day, and now you were like, yes, I need to serve or service more than that in order to get the 30% split that you're going to have to give back every month. So yes, and looking completely different into advice fees and all of that stuff to see if I'll be able still to service my clients on a, how can I say, we do a 0.5% ongoing fee. And also we don't do on upfront fees at all. But then I had to look at that whole holistic plan about, okay, wait, this is my income. Then I had a new Excel sheet. I had to generate and see where I can get more business in that way, and if it will be sustainable, because I mean in 2 years your AUM is not as high as what you want it to be, and sometimes I struggle with risk, so I don't force risk as well. That's another thing, because I know that's the cherry on the cake, but you can't force it. Then people see you are desperate. So yeah, there's a lot of learning curves in that way as well.
Thanks, Diane. Really, thank you for your honesty. Most people see AUM as a swear word, and risk is even worse. So, but I think the reality is, I know a lot of you, because some of you reach out to me personally or talk to me personally, that I think if everyone was guaranteed an income where we could support our families, then there would be absolutely no doubt that this is our calling. And I do think it's a calling if you're doing this job the way it should be done. But the reality, the harsh reality, again, is that we need to put food on the table, and pay bills, medical aids and stuff. So thanks, Diane. Anyone else want to share? Okay. All right. What I'm going to do...
What's the question?
Sorry, you got another...
Sorry, I'm very late in arriving. Pardon me.
No, it's fine. It's fine, Brendan. You're here. The question was, so what we're doing is we're just going to... There were the 3 questions. So it was for the starting with the people who are in a good place, kind of, okay. What has happened that you are there, that you can say that you're in a good place, you are comfortable. So I think you were in the next group.
Yes.
So we'll get to you, because I see Dylan's got his hand up. Cool. But thanks, Brendan.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I want to start off by saying that I think it's fun to be in all 3 of those spaces. And I think every week I'm in all 3 of those spaces. I'd say probably 70% of the time I'm in the first block, where everything seems to be going fine. But you get some very, very low days in our industry where I think it just feels like everything goes wrong. But then you'll have a day. I had one a week or 2 ago where I think 3 or 4 clients that I've been, I would say, chasing after for a large part of this year, all signed and paid debit or paid EFTs for quite like good deals that I've been pushing for. So it's weird. It's like a game of ups and downs. And I think in the last 2 years, particularly, like one of my biggest focuses has been to keep a very stable headspace. Maybe not get too excited or too upset. That's something that I find quite interesting. Someone that I used to work for actually said to me, nothing's as good as you think it is, and nothing's as bad as you think it is either. And I kind of like to remember that. And I just think it's so important to remember to play the long game. Just be consistent every day. Wake up hungry, wake up ready to help clients and make an impact. And I think things do compound over time. But we often interview people here, and I think one of the tough things you have to say to them is, if you are not going to be fully committed to this, you might as well not even start, because this industry will spit you out so fast. It's actually unreal. And I think that's also just proven by international stats of how fast young people fell in the industry. So I actually find it very interesting when someone like Russell speaks, because I'm not used to seeing someone who's been in the space for like 10 years, as an example. To me, it's either someone who's just started and they're about to fail, or it's someone who's been in the industry for at least 20 years and is, in my experience, probably not giving great service to clients, actually not even maybe a good advisor, yet they'll have all of the assets, all of the big clients, which is interesting. But it also kind of reminds me that there is scope for young people to make a difference and take market share in the industry because of that. Yeah.
Thanks, Dylan. Yeah, look, I agree with you, but I didn't want to give people the option because then the poll would have. It's kind of where are you spending most of your time in your head, you know? But I agree with you. After more than 30 years, I find myself between those spaces as well. You're so right. I think, you know, a lot of people are lured to this industry because the way that it's marketed is completely wrong. You know, no matter what the life companies tell us or the banks, you know, they do market it as, you know, fast cars and fast women. I'm joking, guys, but you know, a lifestyle of glitter and you know, something, you know, where everyone makes a lot of money, and so it does lure people in, especially we're in a situation where it's not that easy to get a job these days unless you have a very specific skill or qualification, and also it's not easy to find a job where the riches are promised that this industry does. So I think a lot of people come in and then obviously they're not trained properly, they're not mentored properly, and I think that's also one of the reasons why a lot of people are so negative towards what we do, because at some point they've maybe dipped their toe into the water and it's been a really, you know, if you try and take on a job and you fail, nobody likes that. So you automatically going to have a bit of a negative sentiment towards that industry or that profession. But I can tell you that even when you are, I've been called a lot of things like, you know, successful or whatever, even by this group, some things don't get easier. You know, when you're sitting in a situation where you have got clients, the problem is then servicing those clients and keeping them happy, because clients go through different kind of emotional states as well as they progress through life. You know, as they near retirement, they do get a lot more anxious. As they build more wealth, often they think that they need different solutions. So it's not easy. The hardest part is gaining clients, but trust me, it's not easy just keeping those clients. So you're right. That's where a lot of people make the mistake. You know, where Diane said and you said, you know, clients aren't being serviced by advisors. I mean, it's absolutely the case. And then there is the case where you do service them and they actually don't quite appreciate what you're doing. You know, we had a client, 10 million Rand, left us because Forbes offered you half the advice fee. You know, and it's someone who I know almost personally. You know, he almost got divorced and we helped his kids and we've really been involved. And basically he's moving. He doesn't understand what we've done for him. He's going to realize very quickly, because when Forbes are earning what they're going to be earning off him, they're just not going to give him the kind of service. This isn't a dig at Forbes. It's just, we know how these corporates work. They're not going to give him the level of service and attention that we would give him, that a smaller business would give him. So sometimes you have to accept that you're not really doing anything wrong. There's also only so much that is within your control. So yes, the hardest part is getting clients, but trust me, once you have got clients, it's not all just plain sailing.
I think it's
Anyone
also
else?
just it's relative to the space that you're in, Dirk, as well. Because I mean, I've met advisors who literally don't want to wake up for a 20 million Rand new client. It's not worth their time in their eyes.
Yeah.
And I think as you progress in your career, the younger people are looking for higher profile clients, and maybe a 5 million Rand client wouldn't be someone you'd want to work with. Yet I would love to work with 5 million Rand clients. I enjoy working with them. So it's also relative.
Yeah, and I think the reality is, I mean, when as we are running a business, so maybe we're in a privileged position where we can start looking at things like that. But even if it is a smaller client, if you've built a healthy working relationship with them, it doesn't take a lot of time. Very often let's be honest, the less wealth involved, the simpler the issues are. They kind of living off the monthly budget. It can be overspending, but generally, if you've built a healthy relationship with clients and you've educated them, then those relationships aren't difficult to run. So, we do run relationships with clients where, if we look at it from a profitability point of view, it's not necessarily that profitable for us, but because we've been working with them for a long time, I honestly do believe that loyalty comes into it as well. We look after a lot of old ladies I've looked after for over 20 years, and they were there, they trusted me in the beginning. I'm not going to boot them to the sidewalk now. So there is a balance to be found. I mean, I put something on LinkedIn, I think last week or the week before, where a client where we've really helped see the light. He's advisor of many years. This guy's nearly 80, and he's living this fraction of a life that he could be living. I mean, and we're talking valuable things. Like, he hasn't seen his grandkids in years because they're in Australia and things like that. And we just showed him with proper planning what was possible. And eventually he walked in one day and said, okay, where do I sign? Which we did. And then his advisor, who's restricted him to a 6% drawdown, the guy's got nearly 20 million, considering selling his house because he thinks he's running out of money. So there's no education, there's no plan. Long story short, this guy's stuck with this person because he's made him feel so bad. And this is the crazy thing about this industry is, and this industry, and I call it now an industry, that the person who should be angry, i.e. the client, is made to feel bad and disloyal because they're wanting to move to someone who can literally change their family's life. I mean, it's crazy. And look, he will take our advice and we will continue on advising him. We're just not going to get paid for it right now. I know it'll come across down the line. But this is something which is absolutely crazy, which I don't think exists in any other industry. And it speaks to the emotions of the client as well. And where
it's like having an abusive partner.
It is. It's
literally is.
It's absolutely abusive. It's an abusive relationship. Thank you. I might put a post up on that later. Yeah. Anyone else from that top group want to share anything? Okay, then let's go to the next group where you're going along nicely, but it's tough. Brendan, I know you got something to share on this. Is Brendan still with us?
Yep, still here. Sorry, I was just eating something.
That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, Dirk, getting back into the industry has been a challenge. Learning, because I was in for 5 years and then out for 2, and then now I'm back in. And it's been about 1.5 years now that I'm back. And I'm getting to a point now where I'm really starting to enjoy it, getting into the rhythm, getting used to the rhythms of what's required of us, and balancing taking care of ongoing taking care of existing clients, but also bringing on new clients. And that's been the challenge for me more recently, is trying to, focusing on, I need to grow my business, focusing on growing my business, but also making sure that I give my existing clients a high standard of service. So that's been the challenge for me, is and also at the same time trying to be a father and not spend all of my evenings and early mornings and weekends trying to catch up all this work. So that's been the challenge. I think we're like, today's the first day in the last 3 weeks where I can sort of take a breath and catch up on my admin backlog, which is, as I just scrolled down a few ideas here, it's quite long. Or a few things I need to do here, it's quite long. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. I'm just sort of I'm not quite at a point where I can hire people to assist me. but yeah, so I'm not quite at a point where I can hire people to assist me. So I have to do a lot more and wear a lot of hats. So that's the challenge I'm having at this stage.
Okay, and Brendan, I mean, was there something that led to kind of this breakthrough? Was it that suddenly you gained a few clients and there was a bit of financial ease, or was it a mindset change, or a combination?
Yeah, a combination. A combination. I think it's when you start, like I started earning the trust of, I mean, these are new clients to me, people who I had never met before. They trusted the business I worked for, Hewitt Wealth, but I needed to establish personal trust with them. And as I got to know them, as I started engaging with them, built the relationships, those clients. So those existing clients have started referring people to me. By virtue of the fact that I work for Hewitt Wealth, but also because of the service that I provided them, and that was a nice validation that at least I'm doing a good job. And then also I started getting some business from kind of friends and family as well, who I started more actively not marketing myself, but getting out there a bit more on LinkedIn, chatting to people, talking to people, and just asking, taking interest in what they're doing. And then they would say, "Oh, what are you up to?" "No, I'm back in advice," and chatted to people. And so it's and also just feeling more comfortable with like our systems and so yeah, I think it's more of it's a few things, but I think it's also just the comfort in our processes and our systems, and what we're doing for our clients on an ongoing basis. It took me a while to readjust to that. Having been in a role where I basically worked on spreadsheets and investment platforms every day for 2 years, getting back in front of people, as an introverted person, getting back in front of people was tough. And then also like balancing all the stuff that I've talked about at length now, that was hard for me. But now we're getting to a point where I'm feeling more comfortable, more confident, going into meetings feeling better prepared for things. So yeah, it takes a while. It takes a while, even though I've been in the industry now for 8, almost 9 years. There are times where it takes you you're so busy and things are happening so quickly that you can lose your footing, and you just need to go back to your core principles and get back on your feet as quickly as you can. Take a day here and there just to settle yourself and work on the things that are worrying you. Because I find things are going great. I mean, bringing on new clients and doing proposals and doing all sorts of things, but then I'll have this nagging voice at the back of my mind: "Oh, you haven't gotten back to this guy, or you haven't done this, or you haven't, there's this servicing that you need to do." So making sure that I get to those small ongoing tasks as well as continuing to grow and build.
Yeah, those voices don't go away, trust me.
Oh yeah.
But it's good, and I think I've noticed that you put a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, which is great. And I think I don't think I've ever got a client from LinkedIn. Probably my post wouldn't warrant it, but I think the thing about sharing stuff out there is it does feed you, because a lot of us will interact with each other, for instance, on LinkedIn.
Yes.
And I think you've got to stand for something, because it breeds confidence in yourself. And it speaks to, if you want your purpose of your why, of like why you are doing this. So, but it is scary when you start putting stuff out there, especially if it's a bit controversial. But I mean, I've learned you will be surprised at how many people are having exactly the same experience or thoughts that you are. So I would encourage people just to take the dip and to like voice how you're feeling or how you are on on platforms like LinkedIn, because what it does is it speaks to your own person as well. And because this can be such a lonely business to be in, we got to get help anywhere we can get it from. So yeah, thanks for sharing, Brendan.
No, cool. Just one point to add to that, what you just said. I don't necessarily agree with everything Yandela says all the time, but I have a very, very good idea of who Yandela is and what Yandela thinks. and I think that's admirable. So as if I'm a client and I'm out there on LinkedIn and I see, I get a very good idea for what kind of service and what kind of person I'm going to be dealing with when I sit down across from Yondela. So that gives me it just gives people an idea of who you are and what you're standing for. It just gives it, and over time it creates kind of a public trust that you have an idea of what you're talking about. You have these key principles that you stick to and these values. And if people resonate with that and they want to come chat to you, then great. If not, then well, they'll go see someone else. I've had quite a few leads of LinkedIn actually more recently. Guys sending me messages and saying, "Hey, can you help me out with something?" or "Can you help me with my planning?" So I mean, it does work. It takes a lot of time and it takes time and effort. But I think if you put yourself out there, if you share generously and you teach people, I think you share, you try and uplift people. I think it does pay dividends for sure.
Great, fantastic, man. And I think again, we got to remember that when you see on LinkedIn, people who don't do what we do, a lot of them kind of move around. When you've been around as long as I have, you've seen people that have, and there's nothing wrong with that. People get different opportunities and they play different roles, but this industry is actually really small. When you look at the people who are in it, they just move around between asset managers or life companies or whatever. But there's one thing we never forget is that this whole business feeds off our clients.
Yeah.
We are the foot soldiers. We are the mouth of this whole body, this whole industry. Without us, it doesn't exist. So you must remember, as much as we get all the brunt and all the pressures on advisor fees, while asset managers are earning 1.5%, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But they're all good guys. We're not allowed to say anything. But we are the mouthpiece that feeds this whole industry. So whenever you're feeling down, just remember how important you are, even though these people aren't telling you. So we play a really important role, both for the larger players and then for the people out there that we do actually help. Thanks, Brendan. Anyone else want to share? Ferdy, I'm going to pick on you, if I may. Actually, Ferdy, sorry, Ferdy, you're in the third group. Okay. Is there anyone else from that second group that wants to share anything?
I can share, sure.
Yondela, go for it, but
yeah, so for me, it's tough, man. Like, I think, okay, I wanna read the question. It's just I remember when you sent the question, I was like, yeah, this is me. PLFP. All right. So I feel a bit overwhelmed. I'm battling and need some guidance. I think the feeling overwhelmed part is, so I struggle with the lead source. I think almost every advisor, in order to be successful, you somehow need some form of lead source. So working at a corporate like Sanlam, the type of leads that you get from a place like this is based on, does management like you? Do you play by the book? So I don't get much leads, because at first they were giving me like a person who they said like a client's earning, let's say, between 5 and 10,000 rand, and they want a funeral plan. And I said to them, guys, please, can you just get me better leads? Because the guys were, and they're like, no, who do you think you are? You can't just come here. And I'm like, so I'm not getting very good leads. I do a lot of presentations, and the problem I face at Sanlam is, so it's very target driven. So regardless of what I say in terms of, I'm trying to build, proper relationships. I want to them is I'm wasting valuable resources, and everyone's like, you're such a great advisor, blah, blah, blah. you should be writing 1 million live covers. You should be getting X amount of score. And it's sad that the economics of a brand like Sanlam or any other insurer doesn't really care about the end client, because their purpose is to create and build market share. And you, the person employed by this place, you don't have a choice but to adhere to them. So, like, I don't know, like I'm losing my mind. I wish. So Swaddle, I used to work at PSG, and he said to me recently, he's like, "Hey man, we miss you here. You made a lot of money. Are you sure you don't want to come back?" I don't know if I shared this. Like at PSG, I only spoke to one black person my whole time there, and I got frustrated thinking that maybe I need to educate more, African people to say, "Hey, listen, financial planning is actually such a great resource. You can be, even with your 30,000 rand, you can live a lifestyle." But I'm not getting to those types of people because I don't know. Like I'm just losing my mind. What's the second one? I'm battling and need some guidance. Now, the crazy thing with guidance, Doug, is you can't be guided by, like you said earlier, people who don't do this job. Because sometimes people might not see the things the way you see them. So, for example, I hate managers. I think they're the most useless people in the corporate, because these people are earning a salary for you making targets. So they don't care. Like, they're the most useless people on earth. I think managers in corporates should be people who are practicing financial planners and maybe at a certain level and are able to give time to the upcoming advisors. So, like, yeah, man, if I could kill people, I'd probably kill them. But I'm a nice person. I'd rather not. I'll give you an example. 2 years ago, I started speaking to Graviton. So Graviton currently holds a lot of like participating employees and employee benefit stuff in the Eastern Cape. And so I said to them, "Hey, listen, maybe I want to jump ship and come to you." And they said, "No, you need 250 million to join our practice." And I said, "Guys, like, I come from PSG Wealth. I have no assets under management. I have no humans. I have 2 people, probably my mom and dad, no one else." And they said, "No, we can't take you." But eventually they said maybe they'll take me. But it's not coming into light. And someone said, this can't be about money. I've got 2 kids. I've got a wife. Definitely it has to be about money. Like, for me, regardless of my passion and why I'm doing this thing, I must be able to turn a profit at the end of the month. Otherwise, I can't go see my clients. There's nothing I can do, So I feel like, yeah, like I understand suicide. I understand why people kill themselves, because I think it just gets to a point where they just can't take it, because the business they're in is not trying to help them. And this is why so many advisors or young people just leave the profession, because I'm at a point in my life where I'm getting offers from corporate, and I'm like, yeah. So if I do an announcement saying, "Hey, listen, I'm never," it's because where I'm currently at does not foster the type of person that I am, who really wants to educate and help people live better financial lives. Because I'm pushed into this product pushing thing, and even if I'm trying to do the right thing, where I'm at, it just doesn't allow it. Sorry for the long-winded.
Not long-winded at all. Thank you, Andela. Look, it is it is tough, and I mean, I don't want to give you specific advice, but there are times where you don't necessarily need to compromise your values, but you do need to toe the line if you're going to start building somewhere, and that is the difficult part of it is, you know, to what extent do you you don't want to compromise your personal values, but you know, it's found that the balance between those two. And let me also say that you speak specifically about being black, and I mean, I think we all get that. We understand. There's no absolutely no doubt that you know, despite the size of the population makeup, it is I would imagine a much more difficult market to find those kind of quality clients in that you're seeking. And again, this is where, and I'm saying not for you specifically, but a lot of people, you know, when I started doing this, it was like kind of, you know, there was no financial planning degree. It was like, well, you know, I know I don't want to work for somebody else, and if I work harder than the guy next door, I want to be able to make more money. And that was kind of how I got into it. Whereas today, for you guys, a lot of you, it's very different. You study this, and you go into it with a very conscious decision. The problem with that is that you look at the best businesses, and that's what you want to be straight away. And the reality is that it really doesn't work like that. You know, there are very few businesses that are employing graduates, and you enter at that level. So I think we have to understand that you're going to grow. And then the next thing is that, you know, as Brendan alluded to, you know, he went corporate route for a while. If it's something that you need to do because that's how you're going to be able to look after your family, it's not a cop out. It's not the end of the world. You know, there are a lot of very good people in the industry that aren't necessarily client facing. And I'm not saying that everyone who isn't client facing don't listen to their advice. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, just be aware, you know, where you've got people who are, especially when they're selling stuff. But yeah, thanks for sharing, Yondela. Ferdy.
I think that's a problem, though,
So,
Dirk,
yep.
that a lot of young people are struggling with right now. Just let's get real. If you want to move into the independent space and you don't have a client base to work off of, you're starting from nothing. If you want to live fairly comfortably, especially if you live in a bigger city, you need to earn decently. Even if you manage to do 3-4 policies a month that are paying you 10,000 Rand commission a policy, you're probably going to have a lapse in a couple months. You're then competing against this idea in your head that over the long term, it's going to be fine. You're going to pick up all these great clients. You're going to have a sustainable business, but it might not be reality. And I guess you're constantly having to fight that versus having offers from FNB. I mean, they've poached a lot of advisors in our space from us. They're offering young advisors between 650 and 1.4 a year, depending on what your commission statements look like, the type of clients you worked with, etc. So I just feel that there's going to be a big drain in the industry in terms of the independent space. Either experienced advisors are going to have to make offers to young talent. Alternatively, they're all just going to get sucked into big corporates because you can't really compete straight off the bat. And I think even in the past, we all know that income and expenses were more in line, whereas now it's just crazy how fast expenses are growing. So yeah, I agree with you, Yondela. It is a big problem, and it's getting to a point now where I think a lot of people start having to decide, well, can I actually fit into a corporate space, or am I going to stick it out? And personally, I enjoy playing golf whenever I want to play golf. I like doing my thing, so I'm gonna push through and try and do the best I can in my space.
Thanks, Dylan. And just remember, there is nothing wrong with being in a corporate. You can work for FNB or one of the banks and do really, really good work. You know, there's some restrictions maybe, but you know, really, I mean, no asset manager in this country is significantly better than the other, and at the end of the day, they're all greedy. So we can't solve all the world's problems, but you know, often it gets said that if you're not an independent advisor, you can't give best advice. That's nonsense, because advice and product aren't the same. You know, there are very few big corporates that don't have a product that is very similar or the same as somebody else's product. The big difference between your Coros, your Greys, and those companies is that they just don't have a legacy. Okay, no one, and they make great ads. You know, your Sanlams, your Old Mutuals, your Liberties, they've got legacies because they've been around for over 100 years. But fundamentally, there's no difference between Allan Gray and Old Mutual. You know, it's just that, yeah, well, they've got a very nice building in the waterfront, but I'm not picking on them. But people forget this, you know, is that fundamentally they're all exactly the same. They've just started at different times, and because of that, it's like if you come in now, if you entered this profession 30 years ago, you would sell policies and you would earn commission because that's all that was there. If you come in now, you can be fee-based, you can be flat fee-based. You know, there may have been 1 or 2 30 years ago, but very, very, very few. So we've got to accept that. So really, being in a corporate is really not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that you can't be a great advisor and make huge differences. Not everyone has to be independent. Sorry, you had the hand up there? Haley, you had your hand.
I did. Yeah, but I was just going to echo a lot of what you said as well. But there are also like opportunities that I was lucky enough to come across where I entered from a different industry, but whether you're moving from more the policy side of things into lifestyle financial planning, there are really great companies that offer you the opportunity to grow with them by being like a salaried power planner. And for me personally, it's been like the absolute best way to start because I haven't had the pressure of bringing in business, you know, to the business. I did all the groundwork. I learned so much about what it is to actually be a lifestyle, you know, financial planner, holistically to think about what's best for the client without having pressure to bring in business. And, you know, like as I've grown now, there is the opportunity to maybe move into that space slowly, but it's not like this. You have to go out there and sell and make business, and it's a lot more about the learning. So there are those opportunities that I don't have many restrictions. There's a lot of flexibility in what I do and how I do it. And maybe it's just lucky that I've got that working dynamic, but there are options for like a salaried position where you can learn and cover your costs while exploring and growing, you know, individually and what you personally feel, you know, you want to do one day. So there are opportunities like that as well that you could also, you know, look into to remove the pressure of like providing for your family over the short term while figuring out, you know, what you want to do. And in that, if it's depending on how big it is, then you've also got a mentor to guide you along the way and bounce ideas off, which is wonderful, you know, in addition to a group like this.
No, I agree. And I mean, I'll say something which, you know, you guys could be controversial, but, you know, if I'm going for brain surgery, I'm not going for a 28-year-old who's just passed. You know, I'm going to go for a guy who's cut a couple of heads open, you know. And it is the reality. And, you know, if you're in your 30s and you come across someone who's similar age, who's made a lot of money, again, with respect, chances are that successful 30-year-old's not going to listen to you because they've done something. They've either been really lucky or they're really bright and they think they know better than everyone. Unfortunately, with age and comes maturity and comes hopefully a little bit of wisdom. I mean, you know, for a 65-year-old to hand their 20 million rand retirement funds over to a 30-year-old, it whether we like it or not, guys. I mean, you know, and we all the same, but it's a fact. It is what it is. So also you've got to fish where, you know, where the fish are. You know, if you're fishing in a pond where there are no whales, then you're not going to catch a whale. It's very, very simple. And I think this is a whole nother discussion about the whole thing about, because it was mentioned at the FBI and Dylan mentioned about older advisors bringing younger advisors in. We forget that this is the first generation. This really is the first generation of businesses that are looking at real succession. You know, before everyone was selling a book, you know, what is a book? A book speaks to money. It doesn't speak about people and life experiences and all that. So I battle with that. So it's not as easy because you're looking at selling a business. What is it? On the one hand, it's money, it's annuity income, but on the other hand, it's people. and there still is no perfect science between the youngsters coming in, understanding. I mean, obviously they see the money because that's absolutely natural and it's absolutely normal, but not always do they actually see the people there as well. And again, having done this for 30 years, it's only the last while that I've gotten to that more comfortable situation. So we have to accept that this is also an industry where it does take a long time to build something of value and something that's worthwhile. And this whole narrative that we've got to just now hand it over for older advisors it's a bit of a problem. So we can deny it and we can say it's right or wrong, but I think the facts are the facts. Sorry, Dylan, did you want to say something else?
No, I just felt a bit discouraged by what you said, and I'm gonna openly say I disagree with you because I used to have the mindset that I'm young, I can't see older clients, I can't work with big assets. I had that mindset. It was like a mental block for, I'd say, my first 2 to 3 years. And after I shifted that and my confidence grew way, way more, I picked up way bigger clients, and things have gone much better. So I also felt there was like a bit of a mental block, and I felt that people can almost sense like a lack of confidence. If you don't approach them confidently, they're going to smell it straight away. And I just felt like as soon as that changed, my client base got way better, to be honest. So I think it is possible.
No, I agree that it is possible. So I mean, you've walked a path where I don't know if you were tired, but you've been through the mill, and then you took the step to actually go on your own. You were in PE, weren't you?
Yeah, I actually worked with
Brightrock.
Harry at Optima. No, at Harry.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but there's sometimes this idea that it just needs to happen overnight, and it doesn't like that. And I think you're quite right, and this is where it comes back to your self-confidence and your self-belief, because people do smell it straight away. I mean, in a different way where I'm 56, and there are people in this town who have got obscene amounts of money. We're talking hundreds of millions. Believe me, I feel intimidated. Really, I mean, that's way out of my comfort zone. And you've got to say to yourself, well, they're just normal people, just they live in different cars and different houses, but it is. So it is. It is that imposter syndrome. But yeah, I agree with you. It can happen, but I think the idea that it just naturally should happen, it's something you need to overcome. And if you compare, because we start talking about a profession, if you compare financial planning to how many people who study law or accounting and open up their own law practices or their own accounting firms, everyone goes to a corporate where they learn. A lot of them go overseas and they do all kinds of things. But I mean, it's tough for them as well, So the idea that our profession would be different is I don't think is correct. John Della, you got your hand up.
Oh yeah, Doug. So we want everything that people who've been in the industry for 20, 30 years, personally for me, because I've seen how people have, I mean, when I was at Top City, I saw how those guys worked so hard, right? And how they have built massive amounts of money. And, I mean, Roy was there at the office at 5 a.m. in the morning every day, and this guy was managing 6 billion alone. And I knew that it required work. So I think there's we just, for me, I just want to be in a position or a situation where I can provide for my family. I'm not asking for obscene amounts of money. I'm not, and it's not like I'm not putting in the work. I put in the work. It's just that sometimes, the environment, that you find yourself in, the situation, the environment does not allow, for a long enough runway. So for example, I don't have, 50,000 rand in the bank to carry on being able to just pay staff and then do the things that I want to do, do presentations, meet new people in different towns. Because number one, I don't have a large enough network because all my people I know are from a village in Bazia. So it's because I don't have runway, I can't do the things that I'm supposed to do. I'll give an example. When I joined South City, 2 advisors came in and those guys were given a loan account so that they can obviously be able to, survive. They were given runway. On the other end of the spectrum, when I wanted the same thing, I was not given because, let's not talk about why, but it wasn't given to me because I was like, well, there's a high likelihood that you won't become successful. And I was like, it will because that I don't have the same advantage that my friends are now given because they have a loan account. All I'm saying is give me a loan account and I will. So, it's just sometimes the odds are stacked against you, Anna Dirk, and you try so hard to make it work and you just can't, and you need to wait maybe for better opportunities or maybe create better ones yourself. But I don't think anyone wants, maybe what you have, but they might aspire to it. For example, I don't even know what you have. So I can't say I aspire to what Dirk has because I don't know and I probably don't even care. For me, I care about my 2 girls and my wife and being able to provide for them. And so in my context and in my situation, I want to do what's best for them. But sometimes, like I said, the situation you find yourself in just doesn't, provide you with. Yeah, sorry. I thought I should also mention.
No, I get that. I think it's probably good to have people to look up to, but you got to be who you want to be, and you're quite right. Success is different things for different people. I think Russell put on the chat earlier on that you've also got to decide what you want to be. Do you want to have a big business with a whole lot of agents, otherwise aka gunslingers out there, or do you want something, a business that is around yourself with a few assistants? There's no right or wrong way of doing this, and also I think what you want now might change later on. I think also that what some of you guys and hopefully and I know this group does do that, but where off this platform you chat to each other and help each other is everyone's very ambitious about their own dream, which I really get, and building their own big thing. But I think a lot of younger advisors should group together because I think by helping each other, and by encouraging each other, you could running a business on your own is really lonely. It's really not lekker. Okay, it really is not fun. Frank Fourie couldn't make today, but he sent me a message, and I just want to share what he put because so he just said he opted for number 3. Flip it's hard, but I'm getting there. Now Frank's been doing this a long time. He's an accountant. He's got an accounting business, and they do financial planning. And he's recently just taken over another practice, which was his father-in-law's. And he's saying, with growth and expansion come many changes. Leading more people, ensuring that everyone is carrying the same values and working towards the same goals takes a lot of energy. However, it does lead to a process of cleaning up the staff and clients. So that was on, and then on getting there, he says, that getting the team on the same page. Consistency is key. Make sure we don't compromise on the level of service, and the team all speaks the same language. That's someone who a lot of people in the group would probably aspire to and think that things are hunky-dory and going along well. But the reality in business is, I think that there are always going to be challenges. If any of you listen to Morgan Housel, his podcast, it's really cool. There's like 10, 15-minute chats, and the last one was about that every success breeds discontent. So the minute you reach a goal, the minute you get the outcome that you want, automatically there's something else. So he uses the analogy of war, where in World War I, they said the Victoria said this must never happen again. It was so horrific for mankind. But there were obviously people on the losing side who were saying, well, we can't have given up all the sacrifice for nothing. And a few years later, there was a Second World War. And I think we can relate to that in the situation we are at the moment. But so we must never accept that we're just going to, in fact, I think when you get to a point where you're cruising along and things are comfortable, you've got to start looking out, because something's going to pop up around the corner that's going to disrupt your way of thinking. Ferdy, I asked you to share early on. Do you want to share now, please?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks for the conversation, Dirk. Yeah, I missed a few sessions, and yeah, I can see the value that the conversation adds, because yeah, you get pulled into the industry and the corporate and the way of doing things, and yeah, you know what you want to do and you want to do it in the right way for the clients. But yeah, to hear a group of guys that's also vulnerable and facing some hurdles, yeah, it's really nice to hear and to know that you're not alone. While it feels quite alone in the corporate and so on, because it feels like you're doing something different. But yeah, that also makes you feel well and go to sleep at night. But yeah, so it's funny that you said you fell into the industry, because I decided to leave accountancy because I've got a passion for financial planning and for clients and their futures. And I decided to move, and I made a few decisions, but yeah, it didn't work out. And now I really fell into the industry. So I made quite a pathway to here. But yeah, so yeah, the current struggle is to have the balance, like Yomdela said, and Brendan also said, with lead generation and getting the client and the client base up, and also giving the right kind of service and having a relationship with the clients and spending time with the clients, not just running around. So that balance, yeah, I don't know if it ever goes away. As you said, you must keep the clients again. So it's always a balancing act. But yeah, so that's where I am at the moment. We're almost starting anew again, like 6 months ago, and trying to find the right type of clients and client base and building towards something in the future. I actually want to get my wife on the schools and in the future, because this timeline thing she must understand as well. So that would be nice if she can listen to it and understand that. So yeah, so luckily I have the bit of accountancy on the side, so that helps me with the monthly bills almost, and then I can do financial planning almost the way that I want to do it. But the corporate is still on our backs, and I still don't know how their school works or anything like that. But they are here and talking to us. But yeah, I just want to do it right, and yeah, have good relationships with a few clients. So that is what I'm trying to do. And yeah, it's kind of difficult to get there.
Thanks, Ferdy. Yeah, I know you've walked quite a road, and I think you've been brave enough to try a few different things. So yeah, well done on that. And yeah, and I mean, what Ferdy's doing is, he's doing accounting work so that he can try and achieve his dream of ending up doing financial planning. And I think, yeah, that speaks for itself. That's great. Well done. We've got 15 minutes left. Anyone else who wants to share anything or ask anything?
Have you ever done a session on tech?
We have discussed some tech. I mean, we can very easily. We've got maybe one more session left this year, so we can discuss tech.
It'd be quite interesting. We're busy trying to build a CRM system with like a low code platform that we found, which is quite interesting. but you can build automations into it and pre-populate documents, send them through quickly sign or whichever. So I don't know. I'm just kind of curious to see what everyone's doing tech-wise, and what has helped maybe streamline their practice. The other thing was about data. I still haven't solved this problem. I still don't think there's a really good tool that's fairly priced for advisors to see assets and clients and who's actually paying you. So if someone has an answer to that, I will be forever in your debt.
That's fine. We can make our next session about tech, but I think we'll expand it to whatever everyone is using, and we can all just share that from planning models to CRMs to there is quite a lot out there. Yeah, we use quite a bit, and we've tried different things. So yeah, we can definitely do that.
Even meeting notes bots. There's so many different ones.
Yeah, it's difficult to try them all. So learning from others is good. Yeah. All right, guys. Is there anyone else who wants to bring up anything or ask anything? Otherwise, I think we can call it a day. Guys, thanks everyone for sharing and for contributing and for being here. I think it's good to have these sessions, every now and then. And if anyone wants to reach out to me or anyone else in this group, please feel free to do it. And again, if anyone does reach out to you, please give them the time and the ear. They're doing it because they resonate with you for whatever reason. So thanks, guys, and have a good month. And we've basically got a month left till the end of the year. So make sure you all reach your targets and get ready for RA season. That's a joke, guys. But yeah, everyone have a good rest of the month. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dirk.
Thanks a lot, Dirk. Thanks, Dirk.